I need to confess something. A hug has made me crave a man more than a kiss ever could. Women have left boyfriends, cheated on lovers, and obsessed over men they never even slept with, just because of the way he hugged them. One touch, one placement of his hand, and suddenly, she can't stop thinking about him. Here's the truth. Most men hug like friends. Flat, safe, forgettable. And that's why she doesn't crave you. But the man who knows the psychology of touch doesn't just hug her. He imprints on her body. He makes her feel something she can't explain, but she can't ignore. I've felt it myself. My friends whisper about it. And your girl has probably felt it too. Because a hug can be innocent. Or it can be the spark that keeps her up at night replaying you in her head. In this video, I'll reveal 9 psychological tricks to hugging a woman in a way that makes her crave you long after you've let go. And secret number 7? That's the one we can't resist, because it makes us want you even more after you've pulled away. Trick 1: the slow draw-in, the confidence signal. Most men ruin a hug before it even begins. They lunge, they snatch, they grab too fast. And what that communicates to a woman isn't confidence, it's desperation. But the man who draws her in slowly, steady, calm, he flips a switch inside her body. Because when you pull her in like you already know she wants to be close, she feels safe, she feels guided. And she feels your presence without you saying a single word. I'll give you an example. My friend Sharon once told me about 2 guys she dated back to back. The first one hugged her so fast it felt like he was clinging, almost afraid she'd slip away. Her body stiffened instantly. But the second man? He barely moved. He just placed his hand on her arm gently and pulled her in slow, letting her body lean into his at its own pace. Sharon told me she melted right there in his arms. Her breath slowed. Her chest pressed against him without her even thinking about it. Here's the psychology. Women are hypersensitive to pacing. Fast movements scream nervousness. Slow movements signal certainty, control, and masculine grounding. When you slow down the moment, you're telling her, I own this space. I own this frame. And you're safe inside it. Your rule: never yank. Never lunge. Guide her calmly. Place your hand gently, apply steady pressure, and let her body lean into yours. Move slower than you think you should. Because the slower you move in that moment, the faster she'll replay it later in her mind. Trick 2: the lower back claim, protection plus possession. Most men hug high on the shoulders. It feels safe but also platonic. A man who rests his hand gently but firmly on the lower back changes everything. That touch doesn't say friend. It says protector, and I've got you. Women feel this instantly because the lower back is vulnerable and close to the hips. When you guide her there, you're sending primal signals: strength, safety, and masculine grounding. Example: Sharon once told me about 2 hugs. One guy kept his arms high around her shoulders, and she said it felt like hugging her brother. Safe but sexless. But another man's hand rested low on her back, steady, protective, not groping. She said her knees nearly buckled. She thought about it for hours afterward. Your rule: guide her back with calm confidence. Not too low, not desperate, firm, masculine, protective. That's how you make her feel safe and claimed at the same time. The release delay, the desire signal. Most men hug like they're checking something off a list. They lean in, pat her back twice, and release before her body even has a chance to respond. And just like that, it's over. Flat. Forgettable. A moment that doesn't even register in her memory. But the man who understands timing knows the truth. The magic isn't in the hug itself, it's in the release. Here's the psychology. Women are hypersensitive to subtle changes in rhythm. We expect a hug to last a certain length. When a man pulls away too quickly, it feels like rejection, as if he couldn't wait to let go. But when he holds just a little longer than expected, just one heartbeat more, it feels like desire. It feels like he wanted more but chose to control himself. And that subtle break in rhythm leaves us replaying it in our heads, over and over. Let me give you a story. My friend Sharon once hugged two different guys at a party. The first one leaned in, gave her a polite squeeze, patted her back, and released instantly. She told me she didn't even notice it. It felt mechanical, almost like a handshake. But the second man? He wrapped his arm around her waist, firm but calm, and held on just long enough that she had to decide if she wanted to pull away. She didn't. Her body stayed against his. And when he finally released, Sharon said her chest ached a little. Not because the hug was romantic or sexual, but because she realized she wanted it to last longer. That tiny ache made her crave him. Here's why this works. The brain hates unfinished business. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. Our minds fixate on interrupted or incomplete experiences more than complete ones. By delaying the release just long enough to disrupt her expectation, you create an unfinished hug in her mind. And that unfinished hug replays in her imagination far more than a clean, quick one ever could. Your rule: never break the hug at the exact moment she expects. Hold her calmly, breathe steady, and extend it just slightly longer than normal. Not clinging, not smothering, just enough that her body has to notice. When you do release, do it with calm certainty, as if you chose the moment, not her. Because here's the secret. When you master the release delay, she won't remember how the hug started. She won't remember what you said, but she will remember the moment you let go, because that's when her craving begins. The cheek and neck brush, the subconscious shiver. There are moments in a hug that go beyond comfort and cross into something primal. Moments that bypass words and logic, reaching straight into the nervous system. One of the most powerful of these is the accidental, or seemingly accidental, cheek and neck brush. Here's why it matters. The skin along a woman's neck and jawline is loaded with nerve endings. It's one of the body's most sensitive zones. When your cheek grazes hers, or when your breath warms the curve of her neck, it isn't just physical. It sends signals straight to her brain, releasing a surge of chemical responses she cannot control. Goosebumps, racing pulse, shallow breathing. It's her body reacting before her mind has time to analyze. Think of it this way. Most men keep their faces far away when they hug. It feels safe, polite, and platonic. But the man who allows his face to come close enough that his cheek brushes hers, or his breath grazes her neck, that man creates electricity. Not obvious, not crude, but subtle subconscious electricity that she feels deep in her body. Let me give you a story. Sharon once told me about a man she hugged after a dinner. Nothing romantic had happened yet, just good conversation. But during the hug, his cheek brushed lightly against hers, and she felt his breath near her neck. She swore she felt goosebumps shoot down her spine instantly. She told me later, it wasn't even a kiss. He didn't do anything deliberate. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept replaying it in my head, wondering if it was an accident or if he meant it. That night, she said she couldn't sleep. Her body kept reliving that half-second of contact. Here's the psychology. Women live in the space between reality and imagination. A grope is crude, but a fleeting brush, something so subtle she can't even decide if it was intentional. That drives her crazy. Because now her imagination does the work for you. And trust me, her imagination will always exaggerate the moment far more than reality ever could. Your rule: don't force it. Never shove your face against hers or breathe heavily into her neck. That's desperation, not confidence. Instead, allow your face to hover naturally close. If her cheek brushes yours, let it. If your breath grazes her neck, don't flinch. Stay calm, steady, and controlled. Then pull back as though nothing happened. Because here's the secret. The hug she remembers forever isn't the one where you tried to do too much. It's the one where something small, subtle, and almost imperceptible happened. something that slipped under her skin and made her body react before she could stop it. And once her body reacts like that, her mind will chase the memory for days. The silent hug, the mystery hook. Most men ruin a hug with noise. They can't stand the stillness, so they fill it with nervous chatter. Wow, it's been a while. You smell nice. Or worse, the awkward laugh. They think words make the hug memorable, but in truth, words weaken it. Why? Because the moment you talk, you break the tension. You give her brain an easy way to label the moment. Oh, that was just a nice, friendly hug. But the man who hugs her in silence? He creates mystery. He forces her to step into the quiet and feel instead of think. And when a woman is left with nothing but the sound of her own heartbeat and the rhythm of your breath, trust me, she won't forget it. Here's the psychology. Women are natural overthinkers. Silence feels like a blank canvas, and our minds are addicted to filling in blanks. When you hug her without words, she starts wondering, what is he feeling? Why isn't he saying anything? Is he holding me because he wants me? Or because he can't let go? Let me give you a story. Sharon once hugged a man after a late-night conversation. He didn't say a word. No joke, no compliment, no explanation. Just a calm, steady embrace. She told me she could hear his breathing, feel the weight of his presence, and sense the strength in his arms. And because he said nothing, she filled the silence herself. He wanted me. He felt something. She admitted later. I couldn't stop thinking about him. That silence haunted me more than any words could have. Now compare that with another man she hugged the same week. He held her, then nervously blurted out, "Haha, I give the best hugs, don't I?" She said she instantly felt turned off. Not because he was unkind, but because he made the moment about proving something instead of just being something. Your rule: never kill the hug with words. Let the silence work for you. Focus on your breathing, slow, steady, grounded. Let her hear your calmness. Let her feel your presence. Then release without saying a thing. That mystery will replay in her mind over and over, long after the hug is gone. Because here's the secret. Silence is louder than words. And when you master the silent hug, she won't just remember how it felt, she'll remember how it made her wonder. And curiosity, more than anything else, is the hook that keeps her coming back. Trick 6, the shoulder slide, the lingering mark. A hug usually ends cleanly. Arms loosen, bodies separate, and that's it. But the problem is, clean endings are forgettable. There's no aftertaste. Nothing for her body to replay. The shoulder slide changes all of that. Here's what it is. Instead of pulling your hands away stiffly, you let your palm glide slowly across her shoulder or back as you release her. Not fast, not careless, but deliberate. That lingering touch acts like an invisible signature. You've just written your presence across her body. Why is this so powerful? Because touch leaves phantom sensations. Studies in neuroscience show that when skin is stimulated in a certain way, the brain can continue to feel it even after the touch is gone. That's why people often say, "I can still feel his hands on me." A soft glide, slow and intentional, creates exactly that effect. Hours later, she'll still feel it, like your touch is ghosting across her skin. Let me give you a story. Sharon once described two men who hugged her after a night out. The first man released quickly, arms off, step back, done. She said it felt polite but empty. The second man? As he pulled away, his hand didn't just drop. It slid slowly down her shoulder, grazing her arm before letting go. She told me, "I swear, I kept feeling it all the way home. I touched my own arm where his hand had been, just to relive it. I couldn't stop thinking about that simple slide." That's the psychology here. The shoulder slide doesn't scream passion, it whispers intimacy. It's subtle enough that she questions whether you even realized you did it. And that question is the hook. It keeps her imagination replaying that single second again and again. Your rule: When you release the hug, don't just drop your arms. Let your hand move slowly, deliberately, across her shoulder or down her arm. Keep it light, not heavy. Make it feel natural, unforced. Then let go with confidence. Because here's the secret. Anyone can hug. But the man who leaves a lingering mark, who makes her body feel his presence long after he's gone, that's the man she'll crave in silence, even when she's lying awake at night. Trick 7. The firm plus gentle contrast. Strength meets tenderness. Most men hug with one tone only. It's either too soft, which feels weak and forgettable, or too stiff, which feels cold and transactional. But the hug that leaves a woman reeling? The one that mixes strength with softness. Here's the art. When you first embrace her, hold her firmly. Not crushing, not desperate, just enough pressure to let her body know. You're safe here. I've got you. That firmness communicates masculine security, the grounded energy that women instinctively relax into. But here's where it shifts. Just as you prepare to release, soften. Ease the pressure. Let your arms loosen, and add a subtle, tender stroke across her back or arm. It's that contrast, strength first, then gentleness, that electrifies her nervous system. Why? Because contrast is emotionally addictive. The brain remembers change, not monotony. If your hug is one note, she'll file it away and forget it. But if it shifts from strong to soft, her body feels both power and care in the same embrace. That duality is magnetic. It's exactly what most women secretly crave in a man. The protector who is also tender. Let's anchor it with a story. Peter once hugged Sharon after walking her to her car. At first, he wrapped her in his arms firmly, and she said it felt grounding, like all the noise of the day went silent in that hold. But then, just before he let go, his grip softened. His palm brushed gently across her back as he released. She told me later, that hug messed me up. It was strong, but then it melted into something tender. I kept thinking, if his hug feels like that, what would everything else with him feel like? That's the hook. You're not just hugging her, you're giving her a glimpse into your essence. Firmness says, you can lean on me. Gentleness says, I'll also handle you with care. Together, it's irresistible. Your rule. Start strong and soft. Let your arms first communicate security, then finish with subtle tenderness. That shift is the emotional trigger. It creates a memory her body will replay long after you've gone. Because here's the truth. Any man can be soft, and any man can be strong. But the man who can be both in the same moment? He's unforgettable. The whisper hug. Words that linger on her skin. A hug already engages touch, warmth, and closeness. But when you add words, just at the right moment, you turn it from physical into unforgettable. Here's how it works. When you're holding her close, lean slightly toward her ear and say something short, low, and personal. It doesn't need to be romantic. It could be, it's really good seeing you. Or you smell amazing today. Or even a playful, don't get too used to this. Why is this so powerful? Because whispering during a hug hijacks two senses at once, touch and hearing. Her brain links the warmth of your body with the intimacy of your words, creating a layered memory. And since the voice is processed deeply in emotional centers of the brain, a whisper feels far more intimate than a normal tone. Now imagine Sharon's story again. She once hugged Peter after a long day. As they held each other, Peter leaned slightly in and said softly, I've missed this. Sharon told me later. That wasn't just a hug anymore. It felt like a moment. His words replayed in my head over and over, especially because he said them right against my ear. I couldn't shake it. That's the essence. A whisper lingers. Long after the hug ends, she'll hear your voice replaying in her mind. Your rule, keep it short. Keep it subtle. Don't overtalk. Just one sentence in a low tone is enough to brand the moment in her memory. The extended release, the second too long. Here's the last trick. And it's the one most men either overlook or ruin. When you end the hug, don't let go at the exact polite second society expects. Hold it just a fraction longer, 1 second more than normal. Why does this matter? Because timing is everything. A hug that ends too quickly feels shallow, while a hug that lingers forever feels awkward. But a hug that stretches just slightly longer than expected creates tension. It leaves her wondering, did he not want to let go? That question is where desire brews. Think of it like a movie scene. The most powerful moments aren't when the actors say everything. They're when silence holds just a second too long, hinting at what's unspoken. That's exactly what you're doing here. Saying nothing, but speaking volumes. Sharon once described this perfectly. She hugged Peter goodbye one evening. He didn't rush. He held her just 1 heartbeat longer than normal, then slowly released. She said, "That second made me feel like he didn't want to let go of me. It wasn't obvious, but it made me wonder if he felt more. I thought about it all night." That's the magic. You leave her with a question. That question keeps her replaying the hug long after it ends. Your rule: don't overdo it. Just 1 extra second. Long enough to make her wonder, short enough to keep it mysterious. Now you see the truth. It was never just about a hug. It was about energy, presence, and psychology. Most men hug like friends, quick, flat, forgettable. But the man who masters these 9 tricks? He doesn't just hug, he imprints. He creates a memory her body and mind will replay long after he's gone. The slow draw-in, the lower back claim, the whispered words, the 1 second too long release. Each one works not because of the move itself, but because of what it communicates. Confidence. Calm. Control. Masculine energy. And here's the part most men never understand. Obsession doesn't come from giving a woman everything she wants. It comes from leaving her with just enough tension, just enough mystery, that she can't stop thinking about you. That's why the right hug isn't just touch. It's a psychological imprint. And once she's felt it, she'll never forget you. So the next time you hug her, don't hug like a boy. Hug like a man. And watch how she melts, craves, and remembers you long after you're gone. If this opened your eyes, hit the like button right now. Drop a comment, and tell me which of the 9 tricks shocked you the most. And make sure you subscribe, because every day I'm revealing more of the truths women feel, but never admit out loud. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. And become the man she can't stop craving.